Scott Brown here. This is the Makita 40 volt drop saw, 40 volt drop saw. And in today's exciting episode, we take a good look at it. Now if you are familiar with Makita, there is a good chance you'll be familiar with their 18 volt battery system. It's been out for about as long as I've been building, and that is 16, 17, it's a long time. But now their 40 volt battery system is out. But that's not what this video is about. I've already made a video about that. This is about the 40 volt drop saw in particular, or mitre saw, or sliding compound saw. That's what this video is about. Now full disclosure, I was given this by Makita New Zealand. So in this video we will talk about price because that's an important consideration. I'll pop the word advertisement here because I'm required to by New Zealand law. And when you think about it, it kind of is an advertisement. They're giving me free product. It ends up in the video so you guys can see it. And then we can all make a decision on whether it's worth buying or not. Chip, there's probably a chip for the Bluetooth, I'm guessing. Well, there you have it, the 40 volt Makita mitre saw. Now, price. I couldn't find anything for here in New Zealand, but I looked it up, and in Australia they're selling this mitre saw for 850 Australian dollars. There's some other currencies here. I'll send a message to Makita New Zealand and figure out what it is here, and we'll talk a bit more about price soon. Now, I believe one of the best things about this drop saw is the fact that it only takes one battery. One battery means less weight, and weight is, I think, this saw's biggest strength. So the thing with mitre saws is there is no mitre saw that does everything. I went out and bought the Festool Capex to do finishing, and that's a beast. It can cut most things that I need to cut, but I don't want to use it daily to cut treated timber and things that likely have nails in them. You can make a finishing saw very rough that way. But if you get a smaller saw like this, it has its limitations, but it's light and easy to move around, and you can cut a bunch of framing with it. I'm going to take it to the job right now. We've got to build a timber deck step at that villa renovation, and we'll talk a bit more about it. Now specs for this mitre saw. I'll chuck them right here. Now if you look in particular at that weight there, that's fantastic. To put it into context, I was stoked to get a 20 kilo drop saw when I bought the Festool Capex, and this is even lighter than that. And it's a big improvement on the weight of the 36 volt Makita mitre saw. It has plenty of power as well. Alright, let's build a step. So I've been away for about a week. I had a bit of a break, and Pito's been holding the fort on the villa renovation. It's pretty much done. We just got to build this last step out onto the deck here, and it's a good chance to show off this drop saw by doing this. It's got these little handle things out here that slide out and give you a bit more support. It has a forward rail design and quite a distance, and it also has the top handle design. Now if you saw my 40 volt Makita video, you'd see that I prefer the top handle design. That is because your handle is above the blade. You're not working against the blade. So the top handle in theory puts less pressure on the blade. Alright, let's see what this blade change is like. Aha. Alright, I don't usually do ratings, but blade change, 7 out of 10. You don't have to get an extra tool. It uses the Allen key that's on there, but you have to pull that little window out and hold the guard up. I wish it just had like a little window that you just go shoo, Allen key, shoo, put it back down. That would be perfect. Now, the dust extraction. This is just a dust bag, and I don't have the battery system in order to use the dust extraction, unfortunately. How do you tighten this? I have to pop this off in order to fit this on. There you go, still works. So the dust extractor worked pretty well when we had the demo unit. We had no problems with the Bluetooth. You got the vacuum right underneath the drop saw at all times, so every time we pressed it, the vacuum went on. And it's got a cool feature on the top of this drop saw that I use quite a bit. This little button here, that's the vacuum. So you don't have to pull the trigger in order to activate the vacuum. And that lets you pull the hose out and clean the top of the drop saw between cuts if you are that way inclined. For me, it's the small details like that that I really like with any tools. So I'm stoked that Makita added that. Controversy. They included this little wee square here. Now Makita drop saws, I've heard from a few people that I trust that they had problems with it being square out of the box. In particular, I'm talking about their 36 volt Makita drop saws. I've had no problems. I've borrowed a 36 volt Makita drop saw, I've done a video about it, I'll post it in the description below, and I had no problems. It was all square, it was mint. Let's see if this one is. There we go, square out of the box, but accuracy is something that you have to test over time. And this is a first impressions video, so. There we go, I did like 2 cuts, 3 cuts, and there's your dust. So it tends to shoot it in the right direction, straight into here, but because we don't have the 2-port system hooked up, we're losing a bit of dust around here. This step here is coming out, as you can see by the removed boards, quite far. Don't worry, I'm going to get back to the drop saw in a sec. The reason we have to have such a big step is because this is a large bifold opening window, and anytime you've got an opening window out onto steps, the first one has to be what we call a landing. And for continuity and to minimize tripping, the step has to be even. So the distance from the floor to the first step has to be the same as the step to the rest of the deck. And that's the type of decking that we're using. Yeah, Vitex decking is like a hardwood, and I think it comes from Solomon Islands or something. I'm not 100% on that. But this is the last job that we have to do here. We've got little bits and pieces all over the place. And that there is I managed to cut myself last night. I just moved house and amongst all this, and yeah, late opening boxes, Stanley knife went the wrong way and somehow cut there. One of those freak accidents. But yeah, no stitches. Okay. Alright, let's talk about price. Since this video started, I got a message from a guy at Makita New Zealand, and he said that this saw is probably going to be listed at around about $1,200 for the bare tool. $1,200 New Zealand. So here in New Zealand we get what I guess you could call the New Zealand tax, which is basically every tool costs a lot more than it would in Australia, US, UK. We pay a lot more for tools. So keep that in mind when I say these prices. Now, sticking with New Zealand prices, the Makita 36 volt with the 2 batteries, the bigger one, the heavy one that I found too heavy, is about $100 more. It's listed at about $1,300 without batteries. And if you wanted to get the DeWalt Flex Volt, which is super popular, it's a bit of a does everything kind of cordless saw, that's sitting at around about $2 grand here in New Zealand. Bare tool. And another option that could be worth considering for this price range, at $1,200 New Zealand, you'll get the Hikoki, which takes battery and AC, so it's got both. Now, the main difference though between those saws and this saw is the blade. So all those saws that I just said are around about 254 millimeters, which is a 10-inch blade, but this one here is a 216 millimeter blade, which is 8.5 inches. So it's a bit smaller. Let's just say that price is a big consideration for this 40 volt drop saw. Yeah. Price Price is the big one for the Makita 40 volt system. It's more expensive than the 18 volt system. For example, this circular saw here is currently listed at 630 New Zealand dollars. Just for the tool, no batteries. Like I said before, that's New Zealand pricing. New Zealand in general is very expensive, but to give you an idea, you could probably get a equivalent 18 volt for maybe 350, 400 pushing it. Yeah, it's a lot more expensive. Now, I've made no secrets here about how we got these tools. Makita New Zealand gave us the tools. I guess you've got to decide whether you want to go on the Makita 40 volt system or not. For convenience, I think some people would pay a bit more for a drop saw if they know that the same battery that operates it operates their drills, their circular saws, their reciprocating saws. It just makes your day-to-day work easier. And that's the thing that appeals to me about this. This drop saw can't do everything I want it to do, but so far it's a really good day-to-day saw. And when I need to do these 200mm skirtings like we did on this job, or the Scotia, that's when the Festool comes out. So I've got a combination. I've got the portable convenience of the cordless and the high spec, high accuracy, high cut capacity Festool as well. It's a dangerously expensive combination. I paid over $2,000 for that Festool one myself. Yeah, if I was to buy this one, it's $1,200, so it's quite expensive. But when you're a professional, when you're doing it every day, and you get paid to do this, those figures aren't that high. Yeah. How much do you want the 40 volt, I guess is the question. Alright, questions on Instagram. I asked what you want to know about the Makita 40 volt drop saw. Okay, Harris_51 asks, could it be used as a daily drop saw for heavy and light use? Yeah, totally. That's the main benefit of it. I sort of touched on it before. This is like a daily for us. We could, oh, Dan Carlo. This could be used as a daily drop saw for framing and decking, as we're about to use. Just general stuff. It's not until you get to the finishing stuff where I'm a little bit skeptical of it. And I will try. Next time we do some finishing, I'll pull that out and we'll see how far we can go with it. Mitch_Karabob asks, how does it compare to the Milwaukee? I assume you're talking about this Milwaukee, the one that we've used in the videos previously. They're about the same size. This one I would say is lighter. Oh. Yeah, that's harder to do. This one is a lot more basic, I would say. If you look at the depth here, that doesn't come out nearly as much as this. So it's got a lot more depth on the cut. And the blade is bigger on this one compared to this one. So the Mitre on the Milwaukee goes to 45 on the back here. The Makita also goes to 45. However, on the base, the Makita goes to 60mm, both sides. Whereas the Milwaukee goes to 45 one side and slightly over 60 degrees on this side. Lumberjack Carpentry Designs asks, any problems with the power in the miter saw when cutting into tough timber? Let's try it out. I certainly didn't have any problems for that week that we tested the saw out. Let's test it out on this native timber, which is generally a lot harder than the day-to-day stuff we use nowadays. It's a little bit wet as well, it's rough sawn. No problems. Let's try it on the Milwaukee. I don't think this should have any issues either. Bit more resistance, but that might be because the blade's not brand new. Very important question from Woodshed Furniture. Does it cut 90mm square to the fence even when the head is tilted to a 45-degree bevel? You know what? We look good there. 45. That looks pretty good as well. Not too bad. Make sure you're subscribed and I'll do a finishing video with that drop saw and really see how accurate it is. But yeah, not bad. Okay, I think I've got a good idea of what this saw is like after the last day or so. Finished the step, I literally just put the last screw in here, and that's the step there. Managed to reuse a lot of the existing decking that was forming the deck, and now we have like a very gradual step into the villa. So you step up here, and in here, very equal. So yeah, equal footing. Anyway, cutting all those decking boards helped me, you know, get a realistic idea of what the saw's like. And one thing is battery life, real life battery life test. I had it on 3 bars, the battery, when I put it in. 3 bars, so I guess that's 75% full. And it lasted me pretty much all day. I got to around about 5 PM and it putted out 75% full battery. So you'll get a day out of a full 4 amp battery. Now dust extraction, I'm just using the bag, so I'm not actually using dust extraction, and it's not even full, but that's just from this morning, about 2 or 3 hours. I mean, I'll use this saw in the coming episodes with the vacuum and give it a proper test, but with the dust bag, you don't catch much dust at all. And this light button up here, I feel this light button should not be there. Once you turn it on, the light only stays on for a certain amount of time. So I found that pretty much every time I needed to make a cut, I had to turn this light back on. I understand like wanting to be able to turn the light off and on, but I reckon as long as the battery's in, the light should be on. And the base has been really good. Making minor adjustments on the floor plate of this drop saw has not been a problem. You can tighten the position as soon as you're happy with it using the little dial at the end there where the handle is, so that's been really good. That's it for this exciting episode and the first look at the Makita 40 volt drop saw. If you have any questions, comments, put them down below and I'll try and answer some of them. Otherwise, stay tuned for future episodes, and I'm sure I'll cover a lot of the things that people are wondering about this saw as I use it more often. And we've got a job coming up where we'll be doing architraves and stuff like that, so I'll get a chance to see how good it is at finishing. But yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next exciting episode.